Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer mountain of paperwork needed just to take a family vacation, and you haven't even packed the bags yet, trust me, you are certainly not alone. Today, we're going to transform that intimidating bureaucratic maze of getting a U.S. child passport into a clear, stress-free, and super actionable playbook. By the time we wrap up, you'll know exactly what you need to do, step by step, to get your kid ready for international travel without pulling your hair out. Let's demystify this whole thing by breaking the 11 official steps down into 5 super manageable phases. We've got the rules, gathering documents, parental consent, the in-person appointment, and finally, processing and tracking. Let's dive right in.
Starting right off with Phase 1, the child passport rules, and why age dictates the entire process.
To really kick things off, we need to understand a fundamental rule. When it comes to U.S. passports, a child isn't just a child. Their specific age completely changes the rulebook your family has to follow. Notice the sharp contrast here between children under 16 who face much stricter rules compared to 16 and 17-year-olds. For a child under 16, they absolutely must apply in person. They use a specific form called the DS-11, and that passport, it's only valid for 5 years. But look at the 16 and 17-year-olds. They still apply in person using that exact same DS-11 form, but the parental requirement shifts. At least one parent or guardian simply needs to show awareness of the application. And crucially, their passports are generally valid for a full 10 years, exactly like an adult's. So if your child is under 16, the magic, or maybe frustrating number, you really need to remember is 5. 5 years of passport validity. And here is the kicker that trips up so many parents. After those 5 years are up, you cannot simply renew a child's passport through the mail. No way. When it expires, they must apply entirely from scratch, exactly as if they've never had one before.
Moving right along to Phase 2, gathering essential documents. This is your paperwork prep.
Let's see how you actually build your application package, starting with the physical documents you need to gather at home before you even think about heading out to a facility. First up, you need original or acceptable physical evidence of your child's U.S. citizenship. We are talking about tangible paper here. This could be a U.S. birth certificate, a previous U.S. passport, a consular report of birth abroad, often called a CRBA for kids born overseas, or a certificate of citizenship. And please remember that warning at the bottom. Digital or electronic copies are generally a hard no. Flashing a screenshot or a photo on your smartphone simply won't cut it when you're proving federal citizenship to an agent.
Next up, you've got to prove the parent-child relationship. Basically, you have to provide legal documentation showing that the adults applying with the child are actually the parents or legal guardians. Most commonly, this is just the child's birth certificate that explicitly lists the parents' names. However, if it applies to your situation, an adoption decree or a court order establishing custody works perfectly too. It's all about establishing your clear, legal right to request a federal document on the child's behalf. Now, this right here brilliantly illustrates the single biggest pitfall of the entire paperwork phase. You absolutely want to fill out that application form DS-11 ahead of time to save yourself a headache. But whatever you do not sign it. I know it's incredibly tempting to just sign all your paperwork at the kitchen table while you're in the zone, but you've got to resist that urge. You only sign it when the passport acceptance agent literally looks at you and tells you to do so while you're standing right in front of them.
Okay, that brings us to Phase 3, navigating parental consent and figuring out who needs to be there.
As we've covered, the strictest rule for kids under 16 is that both parents generally must appear in person. But hey, life is busy, right? Schedules are complicated, so it's perfectly natural to ask, what happens if one parent simply cannot appear? How do you move forward if someone is completely unavailable to attend that daytime appointment due to work, travel, or just unavoidable circumstances?
Well, the exact solution to that problem is Form DS-3053, also known as the Statement of Consent. Basically, this is a specific, notarized document provided by the absent parent. They have to fill it out, get it officially notarized, and provide a photocopy of their ID to grant consent for the passport in their absence. Now, just a quick aside, there are special procedures and required evidence for unique edge cases, like if you have sole legal custody, if one parent has passed away, or in a genuine emergency. But for a standard 2-parent household where someone just can't make the appointment, the DS-3053 is your required workaround.
All right, Phase 4, the in-person appointment, also known as surviving the facility.
With all your paperwork prepped, it's time for the action. There are thousands of authorized passport acceptance facilities across the U.S., including certain post offices, court clerks, libraries, and local government offices. Let's look at a practical example with a 10-year-old boy named John. This perfectly outlines the physical steps his family takes to get his paperwork reviewed, sworn to, and submitted by the agent. Step 1. John, Mom, and Dad gather all their documents and John's official passport photo, making sure not to staple it themselves. Step 2. The whole family goes to the acceptance facility together. Step 3. The agent meticulously reviews everything, checks the IDs, verifies the photo, and this is when the parents finally sign that DS-11 form and take a required oath. Finally, Step 4. The family pays the required fees and the application is officially submitted. Easy, right?
Speaking of paying, when John's parents pull out their wallets, they need to know exactly where that money goes. C. The application fee goes directly to the Department of State, while the separate $35 acceptance fee stays with the local facility processing the paperwork. Notice the breakdown of these costs. If you're getting a standard passport book, the total is $135, but if you just want a passport card, it's $50 total. Or if you want to bundle the whole shebang, the book and the card together, it comes out to $150. And of course, expedited processing is always available for an additional fee if you need it in a hurry. And finally, we've reached Phase 5, processing and tracking. This is the waiting game. So, the heavy lifting on your end is done and your application is officially in the hands of the U.S. Department of State. Now, you wait. But you shouldn't just be guessing when it'll arrive. Lock this number into your planning. Routine processing currently takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks. And it is incredibly important to note that this time frame does not include mailing time on either end. It is literally just the processing time at the facility.
Now, you can actually track your child's status online through the State Department system, but you really want to keep these timelines in mind so you know exactly when to expect that passport to show up in the mail. At week 0, your application is submitted. If you paid that extra fee for expedited processing, your estimated return is around week 2 or 3. If you opted for routine processing, you're looking at weeks 4 through 6. Because of these hard processing timelines, if you are planning international travel, you really truly cannot wait until the last minute. We've unpacked all the distinct rules, the strict paperwork requirements, and the step-by-step facility processes in this explainer. But I want to leave you with this final thought. If bureaucracy is the barrier to your next international trip, isn't planning ahead the ultimate travel hack? Mastering these exact steps today ensures your family's next big adventure starts at the airport, not at the passport agency. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and safe travels.